Hi, welcome to my Instagram live session today. I'm a little early and it's my first session here. Thanks for supporting me. I've got to thank all of you, but let's just start with the questions I have at hand. I've had some questions come in, and the first one is by Shefali on autoimmune. So, hello, hi. So, autoimmune, the precursor usually to autoimmune is your gut. So, you have to fix your gut first. And Shefali, I advise you to keep looking at all the posts because all the posts are guiding you in the direction of fixing your condition. First, your gut, and then the autoimmune condition that you have. Of course, you've got to stay off the trigger foods like sugar, dairy, white flour, um, cola, sodas, anything that's going to push your insulin levels out of whack, and anything that's going to get you into a leaky gut situation. So I would urge you to stick to reading my posts, getting the detox diet, reading that as well, because this session is too short to get into how to fix it completely. But I would urge you to first stick to all the avoids that I keep pointing out. That's your first step. The second question is by Sonakshi, and it's about how to make macrobiotic ferments at home. Now, my book again goes into a great detail, but it's really simple. It really depends upon what you want to eat. So, if you want to have a quick pickle, all it involves is, just taking some salt and fermenting it. But if you want to get into something more elaborate, then you can go in for the sauerkraut. The sauerkraut recipe is in my book in great detail. You can also make an Indian version of a beet kwas, which is kanji. Really simple to make. All those recipes are in my books, so I urge you to go there. Sharon asked me about. Hi, Sharon. You asked me about B12. You've been in touch with me all along. Thanks for supporting me. You asked me about B12. Now, if you're not an animal food person and you're mostly vegetarian and vegan, uh, by the way, my book's available on Flipkart and Amazon. That's for Shubhi, who just asked, or Shubh, who just asked. Um, then what you need to do is you need to get fermentation up in your diet, because for vegans and vegetarian, that's where you get your B12 from. Supriya asked about fermented foods coming out under my brand. I'm hoping to start soon in September. Fingers crossed. And Mamta asked about adrenal fatigue foods. Now, things that sap adrenal fatigue are basically sugar, anything that throws your insulin level off, dairy definitely, anything processed and refined, uh, stimulants, so coffees and teas. These are all robbing you of adrenal energy and pushing your body with way too much water. So you have to be very careful. There's this theory about drinking water and drinking too much of water. So if you drink too much of it, I would say liquid intake of about 2 liters a day is fine. You're pushing your adrenals if you're drinking too much water. So keep that in balance. And my second book, The Love Diet, has a lot about adrenal fatigue. So I'd urge you to get that book. Sancheta, hi Sancheta. I know you've been with me for that little brief, you know, uh, lesson that we had. But fermented food is good to consume, yes, for hypothyroid. Don't worry about it. You can go ahead with it. And I'm trying to look at the questions here, but everybody's just waving. Hello. So the other thing is, Shreya asked, is Pro 15 good for a probiotic? It's always good to get your probiotics out of food. This is my biggest encouragement to you. Things that you can absorb. Um, any tips for healthy weight gain? Again, I urge you to read the book. Fermented foods for weight loss. Yes, they're very good. Fermented foods are great for weight loss. Fermented foods really give you everything. They're the glue that holds everything together. So I would urge you to stick to fermented foods. Pratibha asked me the best diet for gluten allergy. So really the best diet for gluten allergy is to keep off gluten foods that have gluten. And gluten is just not coming to you out of your wheat. Gluten's also coming to you out of many bottled sauces that you get in the market. So you have to just keep off gluten foods, and you can stick, if you're in an Indian way of diet, stick to jawar, which is sorghum. Stick to flours which are gluten free, like amaranth flour. Rajgira is gluten free. You can do that, and of course, stick to a gluten free diet. Samantha asked about overcoming wheat allergies. By the way, I go for a Panchakarma cleanse to Coimbatore. It's a place called Arya Vaidya Chikitsalayam. Someone's asking me that. Is butter good to consume every day in the morning? I don't believe in dairy, so no, I don't believe in butter. But having said that, there's a theory out there by the very eminent Mark Hyman, who says eating grass-fed butter is actually good for you. And having read the theory and the information out there on that, grass-fed is better than grain-fed cow butter. So the choice is really yours. If you could do consume dairy, then feel free to go ahead with that. Recurring fungal and yeast infections. The only answer to recurring fungal and yeast infections is sorting your gut. I used to have it. I lived with it for about 6 years of my life. If you sort your gut health out by eating fermented foods, good quality fermented foods made at home, mainly through foods, not through probiotics, you should be able to sort it out and keep off all trigger foods, especially sugar and dairy. My take on ghee, Diksha, is in my posts. The entire dump on ghee I've given you in 4 posts that I've covered, so I urge you to read it. Uh, all the foods work for hypothyroid condition, so don't worry about it. People have this theory that cabbage doesn't work, and I advocate sauerkraut a lot. But the thing is that when you ferment the cabbage, you transmute the energy of the cabbage, so sauerkraut actually ends up working for you. So please stick to all fermented foods. There's kanji, there's sauerkraut, there's pressed salad, there's occasionally kombucha, yes. There is a kefir which is being made now in the market. Someone called Moina makes it, Moina Oberoi. So I urge you to, have a look at what's available. Be careful though, fermented foods, I have this caveat that they are not good for people who have histamine intolerance. So make sure that you know that you can handle the fermented food. Is a glass of milk necessary to be consumed for a lifetime? I don't believe in dairy. So even if you're asking me that question, I'm sorry. I just don't advocate it. Again, weight gain is a sign of imbalance in the body. So if you want to gain weight, then you need to go back to questioning what you're eating, because usually weight gain is not happening because your gut isn't absorbing. So if your gut starts absorbing the nutrients from food, chances are you'll gain weight. Obviously, there's a gut absorption issue, so you need to fix that with plenty of good bacteria coming in from your fermented foods, taking out the trigger foods, as I point out, and adding in things like whole grain, vegetables, legumes to get you started. Can we eat raw salad at night or steamed? If you digest raw salad, please eat it. If you have a compromised digestion, I don't urge raw salad. I urge you to eat a cooked salad. Uh, all foods that I advocate have an alkaline component to it. Having said that, you need a bit of acid forming food, so your whole grains become acid forming. So you need to also include your whole grains, you need to also include your legumes. So having said that, you need a balance of both, because your pH has to be balanced, just like your good and your bad bacteria you have to have good bacteria, neutral bacteria, and the bad to have a good ecosystem. In the similar way, you need to also have good pH. Okay, so your pH has to be a combination of the foods which don't rob your blood condition of strong pH, or they don't keep your blood condition acidic. I will post on hypothyroid and thyroid since I'm getting a lot of questions about it, sure. And let me see. I'm getting a few people join in, but I'll go back to the questions. Rachita asked me about good probiotic supplements. Probiotic supplements are different across the world. We're getting quite a few in India now. The ones I go with usually are Enterogermina in the market, or there's Econorm, or there's VSL3. Different probiotics recommended for different conditions. Don't just blanket them for your ailment. But like I say, for probiotics, you need to make sure you get it through food. It's really important. So I would urge you to read what I keep putting out. There's a post going out this afternoon, there's a post going out tomorrow morning on fermented foods. I would urge you to keep reading it to see how you can get that into your diet. Chronic urticaria problem, I get that, Shubhra, and you've asked me quite a few questions on my previous list as well. So, urticaria again is a sign of blood condition. Since your skin is the largest breathing organ that you have, urticaria happens because somewhere your lungs are not doing really well and your skin, which is the largest breathing organ, is being affected. So, again, you have to go back to the drawing board and address your entire diet and address pH. Uh, by that I mean staying off the list of trigger foods that I highlight: dairy, sugar, white flour, processed and refined, too much honey, jaggery. These are all out. Sodas, colas, and all of that. And by bringing in, brown rice, legumes, primarily staying as vegetarian as you can. Vegan, of course. I don't advocate dairy. And of course, then once you strengthen your gut, and adding the fermentation, then you start changing blood condition and then slowly layer it with supplements. Trifla capsules you can consume at bedtime. Tamanna, I think, has asked me that. Um, you can you can have them at bedtime in a powder form or a capsule form. Um, Digestive issues I have. Okay. Anything to do with your digestion has to be fixed with keeping off the trigger foods, as I highlighted constantly, strengthening your gut with fermented foods because you need that bacteria coming in. So, good bacteria checks in and checks out. So, therefore, you need to focus on good foods coming in through fermentation and then eating whole and wholesome natural foods. How do I fix dark circles? Dark circles are a result of kidney energy. So, when your kidney energy is really weak, it's going to show up here, right? And kidney energy is pushed with different things. It could be pushed with, you know, simple adrenal fatigue. You could be in a chronic fatigue situation, or you could be having some sort of an ailment which has been plaguing you for very long. You could be someone who travels a lot and therefore you're pushing adrenals and therefore kidney energy is being pushed. So, what you need to go back to is strengthen your kidneys and also see if you have a precursor. Do you have a gut issue going on to sort your dark circles? It takes typically any time from 6 months to a year to get rid of them. But if you stick to the path, I don't see why you should have a problem. It's not normal to have a lot of antibiotics, no. And it's not normal to pass stool 12 times. That's the question. Um, sure, I will share videos to do pickling. I know I have to get into it. I haven't done it, but I will do it. Protein rich foods in your diet for vegetarians. So here's the story with vegetarians: you need to keep it balanced. You need to eat a balanced meal. You always need to have a whole grain, you always need to have a legume, you always need to have a green, and you always need to have a little portion of your fermented food. By keeping a balanced meal plan, you're already getting protein out of all those components. Of course, your concentrated source of protein being your legume, but brown rice gives you a bit of it. The fermented food that you're getting in balances it all out. So you're getting a lot of protein. You can keep it up by including amaranth, which is rich on the amino acid profile. You can keep it up by using quinoa, which is also very high on protein. And you can also get a great protein blend in the market now. There are many vegan blends being made. So please, I encourage you to get that. Urticaria, like I said, all the recipes I have point you towards skin. So your urticaria should sort out. I've done it with all the recipes that I put out. I've sorted urticaria, I've sorted psoriasis. So you should look at all the recipes that I put out. My products are not available right now. My products should be available by September, October, I'm hoping. I'm working hard towards getting them out. I will share more fermented food recipes. I will get them out, I promise. I'll try and put out as many videos as I can. Let's get to PCOS. PCOS is happening because of erratic food eating habits, and as you see, it's hitting women at a younger age. It's happening also because of the dairy industry. So the dairy industry is responsible a lot for what's going in, with your A1 quality of milk that's coming into products, and young girls who are consuming these milk products now, and then their hormone levels are getting pushed. So for PCOD, really, you just have to normalize, get out the trigger foods, get out the dairy, get out the sugar, get out the junk, stick to a very basic, brown rice, red rice, legumes, vegetables, fermented foods, and a simple diet for, and try and not eat fruit, eat nuts and seeds, but get out of this erratic way of eating, and your PCOD should start coming down. Um, okay. Thyroid, I said I'll get out some more posts on it. Someone asked me about the art of Meg, asked me about fibroadenoma. Now, fibroadenoma is a cyst in your breast which is not malignant. And you know that your breast has fatty tissue. Why would you trigger the breast off, and the tissues, the the tissues of the breast would get triggered off with what? I mean, it's common sense. You have milk ducts, okay, in your breast. Every woman has them, and these are going to get harmed by milk or dairy coming into your diet. Most of the breast cancer that's happening today is happening because of dairy. So if you have a fibroadenoma, you're triggering it off because of the dairy consumption in your diet. So I urge you to first get off dairy. Really important. If you'll see a marked change if you get off dairy, and see the difference in triggering of these fibroadenomas that you're getting in your breast. Someone asked me about myopia, nearsightedness, Indian breakfast, that was the handle. And I want to tell you that lutein is really important for your eyes. Eating, in a simple, I mean, this is going to take a post to do, but eat all your food rich with carotenes, that converts to vitamin A, that helps with tissue repair. Okay, that means all your colored veggies and all your colored fruits. Try and include as much of orange colored fruits and veggies. So, which means red pumpkin and oranges. Okay. Also, I can leave you with this tip, because the research that's coming in on your eyes is that there's an antioxidant called zeaxanthin, which is really good, and it can really help you. You can get it out of, like I said, your orange colored vegetables and fruit, but you can also get something called mesozeaxanthin, which now is an antioxidant known for absorption of certain light that your eyes will not be able to take in when you have an issue with myopia. So lutein, zeaxanthin, and mesozeaxanthin, I would leave you with those three names to research and start including that in your diet. I would also urge you, the person who asked me about myopia, including glutathione in your diet. Again, a master antioxidant. You get it through foods, of course, avocado, and again squash, which is red pumpkin, onions. Tomatoes have glutathione. But if you want to supplement, if your gut's doing really well and you can absorb, that would also help you. Uh, what foods would you recommend to keep the liver healthy? Greens. That's all, and bitter. So, if you can include a bitter green in your diet, where a juice every day, so like a rocket leaf, which is bitter, in your greens, you could use that in a juice. You could use that in a salad. That would really help you. Um, Nail and hair tips. So, nail and hair comes out of kidney energy. How strong is your kidney energy to have good nail or good hair? Hair is a sign of a really good blood condition. So when you have, really good blood condition, you have a really good head of hair. So again, go back to the kidney and go back to this live when I save it, and read about the or hear the kidney energy strengthening advice. My ferritin levels are low, and my okay. Okay, so clearly, Suman, you have a gut issue going on from what you're saying if you're not absorbing ferritin. And also, you have lethargy. And gas problems. So this is all signifying that if you have lethargy, because your gut has gone weak, your kidney energy is being affected. So you need to first rectify gut. That's all I tell you. Keep following the posts, keep reading, and keep looking at what I'm out putting out there on the gut. So that if you strengthen your gut, I promise you, you'll start resolving your absorption issues which are going on, and you'll start absorbing things better. um, Revolving spheres asked me about butter coffee and ghee coffee, and I have a mixed opinion about this. um, so if you're a coffee drinker, I don't recommend coffee because it's a stimulant, so it can push your adrenal levels out of whack. But if you're used to having it and you want to be on a high fat approach, like the keto approach today is pushing you with, butter coffee and ghee in your coffee, then sure, it's your decision to do it. Having said that, just remember the liver gets very affected with high fat foods. The liver sometimes of a person cannot process very high fats. So you've got to wait and watch and see how the coffee is hitting you to take a call on whether you want to be it long term. Indian tea is not great to have. It's a luxury food. Please have it sparingly. Do not push yourself with a typical Indian chai made out of milk and sugar that actually ruin it. It's great to have just like I'm doing right now. I'm having a liquor tea. It's just plain old Darjeeling second flush. So my advice is don't go in for that strong Indian chai unless it's like a luxury food. If you're addicted to coffee, Sharoon, I feel really bad because coffee is going to push a lot of other things. Just remember, I work with balance. So if you're going to push something extreme like coffee, you're going to crave for something on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So if coffee is more, creates a more expansive energy, you're going to start craving for something that's more contracting. So coffee is going to also push your cravings out of whack. It's going to push sugar out of whack. You're going to be craving more sugar. So I would urge you to watch the coffee that you have, and if you can, for a while, go off it. Maybe even for like 4 months, and then go back to it if you want. I don't advocate going back to it, but if you really want to keep it in, then that's what I would tell you to do. Do detox drinks work? This was a direct question I got from someone called Ruta. Detox drinks work not as a short term approach to weight loss. Okay? Sure, a cleanse is great. There are 2 times of the year that you cleanse: spring and September. So on the equinox, usually, it's usually March 21st and September 23rd. March because of spring, because liver energy is alive and you're trying to detoxify your liver. So, therefore, a detox drink or a detox cleanse could work for you there. Would a detox cleanse work for a short term approach to weight loss? Was your question. My answer is no. For a weight loss approach, you need to stay with a clean diet. You need to exercise and you need to oxygenate. It's not a permanent weight loss solution. Does a detox tea work? Sure, it does. So you can have one tea a day, which could be like a detox herbal tea. That would work for you as an option to having something herbal decaffeinated. But would a detox drink cleanse work all the time as a solution to your weight loss problems? No. Can vitamin D deficiency be treated with vegetarian food? Yes, it can. You have to first correct your digestion. Most of the vitamin D deficiency is happening because of lack of absorption, not just the fact that you're not out in the, not out in the sun, but it's also because somewhere your calcium and B12 is also, because these are all cofactors working together to get vitamin D absorbed. So somewhere you need to work on all of that together. Okay. So let me go through my list and see if I've answered everything. I think I've gone through the foods on my list pretty much. If any of you have anything else, you can ask me. I'm happy to answer. I'm so happy you all have joined the session today. It's great to see you there, and as a thought, as an added thought to the live session, I'd like to tell you that in the list of avoids, just remember you have in my trigger food list, or I don't want to say I don't want to come from ego, but in the trigger food list, you have dairy, sugar, white flour, processed and refined. I put jaggery in there because it does push your insulin levels. I put honey in there because honey does process as a simple sugar. However, if you are consuming organic raw honey and you're consuming manuka honey, it really works. Having said that, don't make honey your mainstay. Sodas, colas, stimulants like coffees and teas, these are all in the basket of trigger foods. Processed and refined, anything with additives, sweeteners. So these go out. Um, with some healthy things that you bring in, you're bringing in your whole grain components. So you're bringing in all the millets, you're bringing in all the brown rice, you're bringing in pseudo grains like amaranth, which is rajgira, and you're bringing in quinoa. In the legumes, you're practically having the whole spectrum. You're having the fatty beans, so you're having the kidney beans and everything, and you're having the split lentils. In the vegetable spectrum, you're doing everything and you're concentrating on the leafy greens because that's bringing you the magnesium and it's bringing you chlorophyll. It's like eating sunshine. So, keeping your greens in check and detoxifying your liver. Just remember, Indian foods are really high on greasy fat, and the liver needs to detoxify all the time. So you need to do your leafy greens, and you need to do a good quotient of leafy greens every day. Then, of course, the glue that binds it together is fermented foods. And I cannot stress enough that Indians are not doing a lot of fermented foods. We focus only on yogurt, and I typically don't advocate yogurt because I take you off the dairy because the yogurt does have a lot of the milk solids. So I would say you would switch to making a pressed salad, making a sauerkraut, making a beet kanji, making a carrot kanji in the winter when you get the red carrots, making a pickle that your grandmother used to make, which she used to put in vinegar and make. You can use apple cider vinegar, put a little kacha haldi, which is turmeric, have a bit of that every day. So keeping your fermented food quotient high, including a kefir. Sure, having a kombucha, but do not go into fermented foods blind. This is my request to you because fermented foods can trigger off histamine issues. If you are histamine intolerant, that is, people with serious IBD cannot do fermented foods at a go. So you need to really take it slow, right? Test. It's only food. It's going to work for you at some point, but maybe you need to take it in slowly. I would stick to nuts and seeds. I would include a lot of chia and flax for my omegas. For those of you who are non vegetarians, please go ahead, have fish, have oily fish. It's really good for you. But given the mercury contamination now, I don't know if you want to be looking at that also. I have looked at it. I used to eat a lot of fish. It's out of my diet now because I don't believe in the mercury contamination that's going on. And that's it. First, you set the base. Correct your base first. Then talk about supplementation. Don't talk about supplementation right away. So, good luck. And I see there are no more questions. So, I'm going to end the live session. Thanks for joining me. And thanks for supporting me again. And I look forward to doing another session with more questions. Bye.